Hello, hello, hello. How are you today, Miss Tiffany G?
Hey, Nikita, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of Popcorn Music Spotlight. I appreciate you for being my guest today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. No problem. Um, so can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. I'm here in the south of Atlanta, Georgia. I am a playwright, a writer, director. I am an entrepreneur. I'm also a veteran, and I still also have a full-time job, but that's basically a little bit about myself, I guess.
So you said you were a veteran. What part of the military did you serve in?
I was in the army. I was stationed in Würzburg, Germany, 71 Lima.
Wow. What was it like being in Germany?
Can you see me? It was
Uh-huh.
it was a beautiful thing. It was a different experience, different culture, but I embraced it. It was a good experience.
How long were you over there?
I was in Germany for about 3 years.
Wow. Okay. So you said that you are a playwright out of Atlanta, Georgia. So what
Yes,
made you
that's
get into writing plays?
well, I would say I was actually inspired by Tyler Perry. Years ago when he first started his productions, and I went to see one of the ones that he had. It was called, I want to say, um, Big Happy Family or something like that. And I went. It was many, many years ago, and so that kind of inspired me to write.
Okay. So you would say that your writing style is that of Tyler Perry? Or do you have your own twist of things? He was just the inspiration behind it.
I would say my own, my hometown. They call me Little Miss Tyler, but I would say it's my own style and twist. I just love to write from real life experiences, things that are relatable to everyone. So I would just say it's just a Tiffany G experience.
Tiffany G experience. So you talked about being a author, well, a playwright. You have a play coming
Hmm.
up in February, right? February 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, I do. It's called The Price of Love, and I'm doing it in my hometown of Noonan, Georgia. So this will be I'm going into my 11th year this year being a playwright.
Wow. So can you tell me a little bit about this play, The Price of Love? What can you tell me about it?
The Price of Love is basically a production about love, but as the title states, it's the price when it comes to love. So, what price are you willing to pay? And so, thinking about love, thinking about experiences, thinking about the things that people go through in life as it pertains to love, being loved, wanting to be loved. What is the price that you're willing to pay to be with someone for the sake of being in love?
Okay, I have a clip from a live that you did with some of your cast members that I want to play. Do you mind if I play it?
Oh no, go ahead. The
Okay, why did it stop playing? Okay, Devil, you real busy today.
Yes, he's busy.
I have no idea why that one won't play.
Be
Okay.
a series of productions where we feed off of one but build another one, and looking at all the different aspects and characterizations of the ugly monster, but as it also comes a different angle. So it's not just going to be, but this is just a start of many. So Bishop, talk to.
Okay, so that was about what the play is going to bring forth, what it's giving birth to. So this play is just the beginning of many other plays.
Yes, and what I mean by that is it's the beginning of any other. This is going to be a series. It's going to be a drama series. This is the first one, which is titled The Price of Love. But from this, I'm going to birth other productions based upon this. And the highlight of The Price of Love, we talk about domestic violence. So from this particular one, I'm going to bring forth different scenarios, different synopses about the price of love, what people go through for the sake of being in relationships, being in love. So when we talk about birthing other productions, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a different array of series about domestic violence.
Okay, because that was my next question. So when you talk about the price of love, are you talking about a financial price, a mental price, a physical price, or all of the above?
All of the above and then some.
Okay. So what inspired you to touch on such a touchy subject? You know, this is like the purple elephant that you don't talk about in the corner. A lot of families don't talk about domestic violence, but a lot of people have grown up in households with domestic violence. So what inspired you to tackle this on?
Well, being that number one, I am a survivor myself, but just as you said, it is a subject that is real. That I know our culture and many other cultures, we do not talk about the ugly head about domestic violence. It's like you experience it, you go through it, but no one wants to face the fact that it's real life. It happens today. It happens in different forms, and it's a subject that triggers a lot of emotions. It triggers a lot of different behaviors, and people are tend to have to come to terms with reality that number one, it does happen. Number two, it happens to someone that we love, someone that we know, be it a person who is being abused or coming from the person who's the culprit, who is the abuser. So when we talk about other forms of things that we always recognize, such as breast cancer, such as, say, for instance, lupus awareness. We have all these other awareness months. We also have domestic violence awareness, but it's not something that people bring to the light. It gets overshadowed, if I may say. And I just
Um,
think that it's something that we really need to start looking at, because it's not just something that happens to women, but also to men and to children. And it's a generational thing, you know, so we never talk about it, never get the education about it. Um, then it's always going to be pushed to the back.
do you think that domestic violence is something that's prevalent in all races, or is it just a Black thing, a Hispanic thing, or do everybody go through it universal?
It's a universal thing. It has no color, it has no age, it has no sex, it has no religion, it has no particular background or ethnicity. It happens to every culture, every race. So, no, it's just not limited to blacks, you know.
Do you think that it's only limited to people that come from less wealthy backgrounds, or do you think that wealthy people go through it too? Is it just a people problem, or is it a poverty problem? What do you think the causes of domestic violence are, like the stem root? Just your opinion. I know you're not a specialist, but
No, I'm not a specialist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. But in my personal opinion, it is something that does not have to do with whether you're wealthy or poor, whether you're live in Beverly Hills or you live in the hood or the suburbs. You know, it's just one of those things that happens. So no, it's not just for a certain type of group of people.
okay. So anybody can experience it. So we should look for
Mhm.
signs in all our friends, not just our friends that may be below the poverty line, but we may have friends that are living a really good life that may be going through domestic violence behind closed doors as well. You know,
Oh,
I
absolutely.
asked you that question because I don't want people to overlook someone that may be suffering just because of their financial bracket. You know, this is a
Absolutely.
everybody problem. It doesn't
Yes,
matter if you're wealthy or poor, it can still happen to you.
absolutely. All day long, every day, somewhere someone is experiencing abuse, and it comes in different forms. It's not just always physical abuse, and you're not going to always see what's on the outside when it comes to domestic violence. So there are many different layers to it, and there are many different signs that we need to be educated on to be able to recognize if we think or suspect that this is happening to someone. So you're not going to always see the bruises, the black eyes, or the broken arms. You're not going to always see it, but it still happens.
So can you talk about some of the signs that you noticed, even with you experiencing or a family member experiencing, or just from talking to people or the research that you've done for the play? What signs have you noticed for domestic violence, like precursors that we can watch out for before it becomes physical? Because it never starts out as physical. Myself, I am a victim, and if you know my story, y'all know I spent 12 hours in jail for it was either him or me. But yeah,
I'm sending
I
you
don't play about me.
home. Right.
I'm just
Um,
saying I don't care about me.
some of the things I would think that, as far as early signs, it's just behavior changes,
Hmm.
conversation changes. Is someone that seems to be withdrawn, just a change in a person altogether, you know. And like I said, it's not just always physical, it's also mental, it's emotional, sometimes it's sexual. There are just a lot of psychological abuse. Those things also fall under what we categorize as domestic violence. So just being attentive to the change in someone's behavior, the change in how they respond. Typically, when you have someone that has been physically abused, you tend to see, if you don't see the signs or the symptoms on the outside from the actual scars itself, the way that they act when they're around certain people, the way that they may maneuver their body around, if they've been, hiding the abuse, they could tend to be sore, withdrawn. They could tend to um, try to hide the physical abuse on the outside. If, say, for instance, someone has been abused and it's physical, and it's the summertime, and they are typically in tank tops and shorts and long, but then you notice that they may be in long sleeves or jackets or, things like that. If it's just a lot of different things that you can actually key into.
And to be honest with you, that's not actually something that you would recognize in this day and age because, like I said, I too have been a victim of that. And at the time when I
Hmm.
was going through my situation, I was a model. So there were times where it seemed like every time I had a fashion show, the abuse would happen because he said he wanted to keep me grounded and I was going to get too big headed and all that extra stuff. So a lot of the times when I had to do fashion shows, I had to wear body makeup to cover the bruises because
Uh-huh.
I was too ashamed to tell my family members. So
Hmm.
that's another thing that you need to look for. People who are being isolated, like if you used to be around your family and now you're not, or when you are around your family, you have this extra person with you. So that's
Uh-huh.
a sign that I would say look for. And I would say that it never starts out as being physical. It kind of grows to that.
Uh-huh.
They get you to a point to where you're mentally vulnerable. And then
Hmm.
it escalates to the physical.
Right. And that's what they call, like that, try to have that control over you. Try and control the way that you um act, the way you present yourself, the way that you respond, how you are. You have to, it's like walking around on thin ice, being
Mhm.
careful of things that you say, how you react, how you respond. And when you're around your family member, if, like you say, if they're always present, or if no one can all of a sudden come visit you at your home, or you can no longer be around the people that you once were around. Your activities are limited, So being with someone that's an abuser, they also give signs as well, not just the victim, but also the abuser if they are known. So,
Okay, I want to go into another clip right quick, and then we're going to touch back
Okay.
on what we were talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of it is generational curse.
Right.
People don't
Generation
understand
curse.
how stronghold generational curses are
That's
when it
right.
come to men, when it come to women, because a young boy tends to follow his dad's
That's
footsteps. He
true.
want to be like his dad. He want to, you know what I mean?
I
He want to be the image of his father. So
Right.
when he sees his father disrespect women
Right.
or, you know what I mean, beat on women, he feel like, well, that's how life should be
That's true.
as a growing man. You know what I mean? That's why I always try to watch things that I do around my son. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because I know how much they love me and want to be like me. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I have to really, really be in particular about things that I do around my son because I
That's
know
true.
that they're watching me. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
Even when it comes in relationships, dealing with people in the store, you know what I mean? How I respect people, even being out, because what I do is what they're going to do.
That's
You
so
know what I
true.
mean? As a child gets older, yeah, they tend to do their own thing, but they always revert back to
To the
what they
parent.
seen mama do, what
Right.
they seen daddy do. That's
Right.
just like a young lady that's in a household, single household with a mother, and she see her mother dating all different type of dudes, bringing them in the house,
She gonna
all
do the
different
same
type of
thing.
dudes disrespecting her.
True.
So she feel like it's okay to let Johnny disrespect me
Right.
because JoJo disrespected my mama all these years. So she feel like that's how a man should treat a
That's
woman. You know what I
right.
mean? So
Absolutely.
it's always like I said, a delicate situation when it comes to these young kids because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them are going off of what they seen growing up. You know what I mean? So that's why I say
Okay, so what are your takes on that video I just shared?
That was the
be
clip,
the woman or
part
Right.
of
woman
the
be the man.
Right.
conversation.
Abuse comes in all different shapes and
All
forms.
different shape. That's so true.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why that did that.
Well, yeah, we were really getting into the different ways that victims and people who are the ones that are projecting the violence. We were talking about generational curses, things that the abuser and the victim tend to see a model from childhood experiences. We were talking about the family dynamics. The young man was mentioning how sometimes it could be an instance where if you've grown up in a household of domestic violence and you're seeing the way that your mother's being treated or the way that she's being disrespected as a child, a female could think that that's okay. As a young man, if his father or his mother's significant other is the abuser, it could be an instance where they're seeing that behavior, and because mom accepts it, they think it's okay. But that's not always the case. You know, sometimes when you have children that grow in those environments, that grow up in those environments, it's the total opposite. You know, it's like, oh no,
Right.
that's not gonna be me. Oh no, I'm not gonna allow anyone to put their hands on my mother or my wife or my sister or my child. And that's not how I'm going to be. So it's two sides to that. You know, it could be a side where they grow up thinking it's okay, or also growing up thinking and feeling like, oh, that's not going to be me. I'm not going to tolerate that. So I was one of those kids where I would always say, I don't want to date a man like my father, you know,
Right.
and I was a daddy girl. But at the same token, because my mom loved my dad so much that she endured some of the things for the sake of loving my father, she endured a
Mhm.
lot of the abuse to try and hold her family together. It wasn't right. And it put me in a mindset that I would never date a guy that was abusive for the sake of love. But then as I got older and started dating, I found myself in those very shoes because
Mhm.
I loved a man, trying to love him through these times, thinking I could love what I would say, love the hell out of him. I endured some of those things. So I
Sound like a
found
big man.
myself still in those same shoes that I said
Mhm.
I would never be in, but all for the sake of love. So, that was a price that I paid until it got to a point I was like, okay, you know what? This is far beyond me. I don't deserve this. I deserve better. So let me go ahead and exit left. But I
Right.
still stayed for the sake of love. And then I understood, in a sense, you know, how sometimes women stay for the sake of love, but not realizing the damage that it's causing because they're willing to be in a relationship that's damaging, that's hurtful, that's painful. But you have these children that are seeing this behavior. And so it's like I say, it's the ugly head because there's so many different dynamics to being in that type of situation.
So you said that you were in a situation like that. Was it just mental or was it physical or was it like a combination?
I would say a combination because my mind is, I'm thinking I could show this man that there's a better way to life. There's a better way to love. You know what I'm saying? Let me just show this man that he's worthy of being loved. Let me show this man that I'm a good woman. I'm a good, home caretaker, what have you. But that still didn't change who he was. So at the same token, accepting the abuse, but accepting it to try and, if I can say, help that person see life in a different light. And
Mhm.
but then the abuse that I received, number one, I didn't deserve it. Number two, I knew better, but because I thought I could love the hell out of this person. And then mental wise, I realized that, okay, they see this as a sign of weakness when it comes to a
Mhm.
female. So they tend to prey on that, trying to have control, trying to make you believe that you're the problem, you're the reason why they do the things that they do,
Mhm.
because they don't want to face their wrongdoing. Whatever the case may have been that led to the abuse, sometimes they'll try and mentally make you think you're the reason why.
Mhm. You know, one thing I love that love the hell out of you. I love that. I hope you make a play, a movie, something. I want that title to be something. I mean, I just feel it in my soul because I've been there, done that. Like, with my abuser, I found out I wasn't the only victim. I was just the newest victim. And that's how
Right,
I ended up beating everything because when it all came out, I was the one that fought back. The other ones didn't
right.
fight back. They pressed them charges
Uh-huh.
and never showed up at court. But I fought back. And when he lost all control, the stalking began, of course. And I tell people all the time that the most dangerous part in the DV is when you decide to leave. Domestic violence, for
Right.
those who don't know what DV is. The most
Mhm.
dangerous part is when you decide enough is enough and you want to go because they lose that
Uh-huh.
control and they will try and get that control back any way they can, even if that means taking your
Mhm.
life. So it's
Mm.
always best to come up with a safety plan and
Mhm.
to seek help outside of your family. A lot of people, the first thing they do is go to their family when they get into domestic violence situations and they want to escape. But I would not recommend that. And the reason why, because of the danger that comes with it. And either your family member could end up getting hurt by trying to save you, or that person could end up getting hurt by your family member, and then they're gone forever. And then you'll forever feel that guilt. So my recommendation would be to seek professional help. Look for
Mhm.
a Sojourner Truth House if you have one, or some type of safety shelter that specializes in domestic violence because they'll have the proper channels to go through. It's okay to let our family know, but kind of seek professional help first because you don't want anybody to be hurt that you love.
Mhm. Yeah, I can understand your take on that as far as not going to your family because number one, if someone is in that situation and they tend to go to their family, you have instances where you have victims who are not yet ready to leave and go into
Mm-hmm.
your family over and over again. It's like the little boy that cried wolf, you know.
Right.
Um, and then it gets to a point where when you're finally ready to leave and you go to your family, at what point are they going to be there for you? Because
That's
you've
true.
been in that situation and you've continued to stay till they turn deaf ear and blind eye to the situation. And it could
Mhm.
be at a point where it's too late. So, one thing that I always say is that never, and I would recommend and I would say to people who know of family and friends that are in that situation, is not to pass judgment because you don't know what the extremities are or why they're still there. So I tell
Mhm.
people, I never tell, if someone comes to me in confidence, I never tell them to leave. I always tell them things that I've experienced, and I tell them when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and when it gets too toxic, you'll know when to leave. And
You'll know when
sometimes
to.
it could be something so simple. Not all the abuse beforehand, not all the hard times and the struggle, but it could be something so simple. But in hindsight, if someone is at that point and they're in a situation where it's very toxic, it's very
Mhm.
life threatening, and they're actually trying to find a way out, then yes, do your research. You have to have an exit plan. You have to
Mhm.
strategize how you're going to exit because, it could be a situation where it could be murder suicide. So when we talk about
Mhm.
trying to tell somebody to leave and get out, for some, it may not be that easy.
Right. That's why you
So,
have to have a
you
safety
know,
plan, and you can't just
you have to
up
have
and
a
do it.
safety plan.
You gotta
Right.
have a safety
But
plan.
it has to be at a point where that person realized that enough is enough. They're ready to accept the fact that they need to make a change and be
Mhm.
willing to do whatever it takes to make that change. Because you have those women who have an exit plan in place, they have made preparations, then they leave, then they get found, then they get scared, then they go back and they go back and they go back until it's too late. One
Mhm.
time too many could be the last time.
I know I watched in your live where you guys talked about. Oh God, I lost my favorite thought. You guys talked about how some women don't feel like they're loved if a man doesn't put his hands on you. Like they're so used to being abused to where it's not love if you don't hit me.
hmm
What
And that
I
comes back to, go ahead, Kita.
I was gonna ask you what your take was on that. You're giving it to me, so go ahead.
We were talking about that part when we talk about the generational thing. When you feel like a person that's been abused think that equates to love. If a man or a woman is not abusing them, then they don't care about them, they don't love them. And it's a sign of insecurity, it's a sign of low self-esteem, it's a sign of possibly being raised in that environment of being around other women who um have led on to believe that that's what love is. Love is not supposed to hurt. But some people do think when you have that psychological and that mental abuse, that if the person that I love is not abusing me, then I'm not being loved. So it's sad to say, but that happens all day, every day. And then
Wow.
they stay.
They stay. I remember
hmm
watching a movie a while ago. I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a movie about a lady. It was a domestic violence movie. Her husband was abusing her to the point to where she ended up miscarrying their child. I'm gonna have to look up this
hmm
movie and give it to you. And then after the husband made the wife miscarry the child, he would no longer abuse her. So she was so conditioned to the point to where she thought that his abuse was love, to where when he stopped abusing her, she ended up killing the husband. because she said that he no longer loved her because he wouldn't physically hit her. He wouldn't put his hands on her anymore. So that when you talked about that, that made me think about that movie. I'm gonna have to find it and share it with this broadcast because that movie was so deep to me. And I'm like, oh my God, she really equated physical touch abuse with love to the point to where she ended up killing him because he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
physical with her anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's that psychological damage, when we talk about the different forms of domestic violence. And like you said, she's because he stopped, you know. And one thing that we also have to keep in mind too, that when it comes to the person who's doing the abuse and the oppressor, is different reasons why that happens. Sometimes it's for control, sometimes because they were raised and don't know no other way, or they equate that with love, showing that, hey, I love you so much and this is why I do what I do. But it's also at times situations where they don't know how to express themselves. When things are not going right, this is what I do. So when we talk about the victim, we also have to sometimes look at the person who's the oppressor and why they do the things that they do.
Mhm.
Because
Okay,
you have some people. Go ahead.
I wanted to stop you just for a second.
Okay.
My godmama, Mama BB, she said, that's my best friend's mom. She has a movie that's similar to what you're working on called Diary of an Accomplice. She would say, congratulations on your accomplishments. She lives in Wisconsin and she hopes that the play is available online. We're working on that. So I just wanted to read that to you while I was
Oh,
up there.
thank you.
But I do want to connect you two together because she has a project similar to what you're working on. We did the short movie version of it. And I'm actually scheduled to be in her movie, but she's
Okay.
doing a movie called Diary of an Accomplice. It's about abuse as well.
Okay.
So we did a short film about a year ago. I don't know if it's released yet. I don't think it's released yet, but you and her
Mhm.
with what you're working on and what she's working on, y'all need to sync. So I'm gonna make sure I connect those dots. And I don't know
Okay, thank you.
why I didn't think to do that before now, but
It's
but yeah,
okay.
but yeah. So again, her project is Diary of an Accomplice. It's in regards to domestic
Mhm.
violence as well. I
Okay.
read the story. It's a really good storyline. Like I said, I am scheduled to be in it, and I am in the short
Mhm.
film version of it called Diary
Okay.
of an Accomplice. Mhm. Okay, so back to what we were saying about the generational curses and the domestic violence and being conditioned to equate that with love. Have you
Mhm.
ever equated domestic violence with love? Have you ever felt that, or have you? I'm just asking your personal experience because I mean, I want to showcase that it can happen to anybody. Because here you are, an educated woman, you're a playwright, you're military trained, so I know you can take them out if you want to, but yet and still you were a victim. I just want people. I want to take the shame out of it. I want to showcase that it can
Mhm.
happen to anybody, no matter what your lifestyle or what your walk of life
Mhm.
is.
Mhm. Um, no, I've never equated abuse to love. And like I said before, my experiences was thinking that I could love the hell out of this person, um, just so they could see that there's a different way of life. So when we talk about equating love with abuse,
Mhm.
sadly, there are people that do. My stance was I felt like I could just show that person that there was a different way of life, trying to
Mhm.
understand and reason with why was this person the way that he was. It was the background, the way that he grew up, the lack of education, um, the situation where the frustrations of his lifestyle, not being able to at that point deal with society when it comes to a man that has been having some hard times in life. So there are different reasons why, and we could talk about this all night long.
Right.
So I as I never equated love with abuse. I just stayed in a situation for the wrong reasons, and I had to realize, you know what, bro, you ain't trying to change. You don't want to change. I too was not
Mhm.
the first one of this person. But I fall back and I said, you know what? Enough is enough.
Mhm.
My abuse was physical. It was I would say a little bit mental, but not to the point where I equated love with the abuse.
Mine was all of the above.
Hmm.
My oppressor found me at the most vulnerable time in my life. I had just lost my
Hmm.
child, so I was already in
Hmm.
a dark place, trying to find my way
Okay.
out. And then he
Hmm.
conditioned me to feel like he was the only person that had my back. And then
Hmm.
when I started modeling and started building a name for myself, he became jealous of me. And a lot of people don't feel like
Hmm.
you can be sleeping with the enemy, but you can. Sometimes your worst enemy can be
Absolutely.
in your house. And
And you're not.
mine was mental, mine was physical. I was locked in bedrooms.
Hmm.
Like I said, I got my butt beat before every fashion show, which is why I really don't. I do some runway, but I only do the bigger shows because even though I'm healed from it, when I do
Hmm.
runway, I still have that stagnant, I want to say that stagnant energy from back then when I was going through that. It always pops in my mind of
Hmm.
what I went through the day before every fashion show. So to keep
Uh-huh.
that from coming up, I just don't do that type of modeling. I mean, I'm to
Hmm.
the point to where I really don't have to anymore either, thank God. But
Hmm.
it's something that it goes away, but it's always in the back of your mind. And like
Always.
once you go through it and any little sign of it, you see any signs of it, you get away from it. You
Yes.
shut down, you
Right.
remove yourself right away. So you learn from your mistakes and you promise yourself you'll never go back because you know what it's like to be in that darkness. So you heal from
Absolutely.
it, you move from it, but it never goes away. It's something that
It
it's a
never
trauma that's
goes
gonna be with you
away.
forever. Mm-hmm.
Right. It never goes away. And sometimes when I find myself sharing some of the deepest, darkest, intimate moments with other women that I know of that are currently in these situations, um, recently got out of the situations, I had to actually get to a place where I had to take time out for myself to heal and face myself and my role. And what I mean by that is, even though I knew better, I still chose to
Mm-hmm.
stay longer than I should have. When I first saw the
Mm-hmm.
red flags, I saw the signs, and as a victim, as a survivor, you go back and you relive some of those instances. And they're hurtful because you realize that, you know what, I'm worthy, I'm beautiful. Why did I allow myself to be in those situations? And then I had children. I had to
Mm-hmm.
ask my kids to forgive me because I put them in situations where they had to witness. And having young girls, having a son, and then witness their mother in those situations, what we don't realize at the moment is that anything that we go through when we have children
Mm-hmm.
that witness this or family members, we're
They go
also
through it too.
dragging them along, and they're going to also have
Mm-hmm.
lifelong effects of it too.
And see,
So,
that's what broke me out of my shell. I mean, I was okay with the abuse because it was on the weekends when my kids wasn't there. But the one time he hit me in front of my daughter,
mhm.
it was over. It was over. I was done. Called the police. The police, and that's another thing, because so many Black women or so many women in general go back. When you
Mhm.
do call the police, they don't believe you. I was
Mhm.
told by the police that my kind always go back.
Mhm.
They didn't do a police report. They didn't even document that they came to my house. They didn't try and get my stolen property back. This man broke in my house the next day, tried to attack me, and I had to shoot my way out of it, literally,
Oh, wow.
and go
Mhm.
to court. But had they
Mhm.
done something the day before, instead of telling me my client always take them back, that may have been
Mhm.
avoided.
Mhm.
But it's really sad because they don't believe that we actually leave, and it's been since 2017. I have not gone
Mhm.
back, and I don't
Mhm.
plan on going back, and I don't ever want to see that person again, ever.
Well, that's a blessing. I've had to I actually see my abuse on a regular basis, but
Mhm,
I that's just the God in me, the woman, the
mhm,
strong woman that I have had to become, and so for it's just a different for different people. Now
mhm,
we talk about the female side of it, but we also got to keep in mind that there are men who have been abused by women. There are
mhm,
children that are also in these situations when it comes to their parents, their friends, their
mhm.
relationships. I remember in high school seeing boyfriends beat up on their girlfriends. And so as
Wow.
early as even today, when you if you listen to some of the teachers or counselors, you have domestic violence situations in as early as middle school. We talk about bullying, but you have children who have been abused at home, being raised in these situations, but also enduring this kind of behavior early as middle school. I'm pretty sure elementary
Actually,
school. You know what I'm
I
saying?
would say even earlier than that because, my job as a teacher up
Daycare.
until about a year ago, um, and I've seen abuse in childcare. I mean, with the little
Hmm.
boy trying to hit on the little girls or vice versa because that's what they see at home. So it
Hmm.
doesn't just start in middle school. It starts as early as you can talk and you can walk in certain instances. Because we
Hmm.
have had situations where even the little girls were conditioned to be abused by the boys
Uh-huh.
because that's what they were seeing in the house, and the little
Hmm.
boys were conditioned to be abusers because that's what they were seeing in the house. People fail
Hmm.
to realize that everything that we do as adults, our little
As
people
adults.
emulate. They
Hmm.
do everything we do, whether it be good or bad. We are a roadmap for how they become and how they grow up and what
Hmm.
they showcase. And not
Hmm.
even that,
I
I've
would
seen
agree.
children abuse toys because that's what they are used to seeing. So, you really have to be careful. Like you see a little baby playing with a baby doll, and next thing you know, she's punching her in the face. Why? Because
Hmm.
that's what's happening to her when she's at
The
home.
behavior. Right. The behavior, the
Hmm.
pattern. Yeah.
Hmm. So you have to watch it. You can't just say middle school in this day and age. We have to watch all children and all people because it's happening and it's happening more often than not.
More often than not.
I think it's a lot of it. I think a lot of it has to do with the drugs and the mental issues that are going undiagnosed because a lot of people in the African American community and others don't believe in seeking
Hmm.
psychological help.
Hmm.
So it just keeps going and
Yeah,
going
I
and
would,
going.
I would say. And it's just a vicious cycle. Like you say, drugs, it's the society, it's the lack of having the resources, it's the depression, it's stress, a
Mhm.
lot of things that are triggers to abuse.
Right.
It's different triggers for different situations. But then being able to go and get the help. There are some communities right now that don't have resources for victims, that don't have resources for the oppressors. So if
Wow.
if if there is a person who is the oppressor who does the abuse, but they also need to seek help and they recognize that, hey, I have a problem. This is not how I want to be. Where can I go and get help from? Where can I go and learn, understand what is triggering me, what is causing me to act this way, to be this way. I think sometimes people make situations a light of, oh, he got daddy issues, oh, he got mommy issues. Okay, but then if that's a red flag, that's a sign, then let's try and get this person some help if they're willing, to understand what triggers did you have from your childhood, what things
Right.
did you see, what things did you experience that got you to a point where you feel as though you have to project this type of behavior out onto someone else.
Right.
So when we talk about triggers, it's not just in the adult form we talk about like the kids in the daycare centers and the preschools and early on, the environments that they grow up in, those are going to be the triggers as they get older because it's rooted in them. And so not being able to cope, not being able to communicate, not being able to have adult conversations, not being able to express. And as you get older and older, it tends the behavior get worse and worse. So
True.
when you don't sit down and talk to your children and have conversations, when you don't sit down and have adult conversations amongst yourselves to understand, why are we acting the way that we are? Why are we, projecting this type of behavior? So it's just a whole lot. When we talk about domestic violence, it opens up a whole avenue of other things,
Mhm. I know we talked about it earlier, but we didn't really touch on it on this podcast. So I want to bring this up as well. But financial abuse, that was a new one to me because I never thought about it for one, nor have I ever equated that with the form of being domestic violence. But after our conversation, I'm like, yeah, that is another one that
It's
could
a
be,
part of it.
it's a part of it.
It's
So,
a part of it because when someone has financial control over your well-being, over your day-to-day living, and they're able to manipulate you because they have total control, whether you eat, whether you can go outside and go drive, whether you can go and shop, dictate what you can and can't eat, all those type of things. So when you have people who are in a household where there's only one income provider, that provider tends to have control over everything.
True. So that goes with
So
for a lot of stay-at-home moms or stay-at-home wives could be victims of that. Wow.
I know I have personally known of 2 guys that were in this situation where the female was the breadwinner and they controlled and ran the house and treated those guys like they were less than nothing. But on the outside, they were the best, but behind closed doors, and one thing I hate to see a broken man. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want to see a broken woman, but when you strip away a man's masculinity, it just, it's a whole different ball game.
It's pitiful. Yeah.
It is sad.
It's pitiful. I mean, yeah. That's like seeing that dog on the side of the road with no family and it's hurt. I mean, you just feel sad like a little lost puppy. Trust me, I get it. Because men, I hate to say it because, men are supposed to be this big, strong, force or whatever, but men can't take half the stuff that women can take. They're not built for it. They're just not. I don't care how big, strong, and bold they are. They are not built for they're not built for it tough like us. So, to see a broken man is to see something.
Yeah, that's a very hurtful thing.
It is.
Very hurtful.
It
Absolutely.
is. So I know we're in the 8:00 hour, but we started a little late, so I'm gonna go over a little bit. But I want to talk about this play. How can we see it? And what is the ticket? And what can you tell me about your cast? Because I know you got a star-studded cast, boo. I can't wait.
I cannot wait for you to come down. I am so glad and honored that you are going to come all the way from the mill, all the way down to the 8 to support you, girl. I appreciate that. Yay!
And tell us no, it better not be me there. Tell us no, it better not be me there. Because we still ain't got no snow. Y'all got it all. So I don't want to be there when I get there either.
I know. Well, my cast, I tell you, I love my cast. Today we had an awesome rehearsal, and this goes for every production that I've done. My cast, we become like family. I'm one of those community playwrights where if you tell me you want to act and get on stage, then I'm your girl, because I'm gonna teach you how to become that character, get you in character mode, and we're gonna, get down to the nit and gritty, and it has been so much fun.
I think that's been for for another play then. Since you said that, I only got 3 under my belt. It's about time for number 4. It's about time for number 4.
Okay, well, come on. I got you, girl. I got you. I have my cast. They have really, really taken heed to it because they've generated an eye opener for them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the people in my play, this production right here, they have firsthand experiences with domestic violence, but then I also have those people who've never experienced it and they have been like in awe. I have Bishop Collier Starks, who's also like, not only he's a minister man of the gospel, but he's also a young man that helps within the school system and mentors on different levels. So he has really gave us a lot of insight and opened our eyes to some things that we've shared as far as children and their situations. Now I have Marcus Barfield. He was a young guy that was talking about the generational curses, the generational things that pass on. But he too is a youth minister to where he in his church he serves and he talks to not only the men but also the children and some of the stories that he has heard and has had to help educate on this very same subject matter. My cast, when I tell you, after each rehearsal, we get so deep into conversation because they're beginning to understand the role that they're playing, the impact that they're going to have, and how their character resonates to someone that they know, resonates to someone that they are close to, have been close to, or have heard of someone in that situation. And like I said, I do have a few cast members that have experienced it themselves. And the beautiful part about this production is, in all of my productions, I allow my cast members to go a step further and not just always stay word for word, because I want everything to be realistic. So when you're sitting in the audience, you're gonna have fun, you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry, you're gonna get healed, you might even get saved because we're gonna bring it. So it's always going to be, yeah. So I just love all of my cast members. This is the anniversary of one of my other productions that I did the very same weekend in 2015. It was called When a Man Loves a Woman. And so those cast members are keying in, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, so what's the date? How do we get tickets? What can you tell? How can we watch it if we're not in Atlanta?
Well, William talks about trying to stream it. This is something I've never done, was stream it live for the viewers that in different places or different states. So that's something that we are looking at doing for this particular one because of the subject matter at hand. We want this to be awareness. Even though it's a production, it's all about awareness. So I am open to doing that. But for those that are local, those that want to come in, even though I'm right here in the south part of Atlanta, I do have supporters that drive all the way from New Orleans, South Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama. So that's huge for me because I didn't know that these people would drive 2, 3, and 4 and 5 hours away to come to my productions. They like, girl, you gotta get out your hometown. You gotta spread your wings. And I'm just like, okay, it's time. So I know. And I'm ready. So tickets.
You don't have to work on getting this play to Wisconsin after we get it, situated.
Absolutely. I'm open to traveling. Yeah, I'm open to traveling. We were actually due to go to Dallas, but I pulled back because you can't really be. I just want to make sure that I'm well received. And it took me this play. I actually wrote this play in like a week's time, but it's been just sitting idle for about 4 years because I thought that because of the subject matter, it was going to be too much and it would not be received. And so, but
Mhm.
something kept me like, girl, you got to do it. You got to do it because if you don't speak up, who's going to speak up? Who's going to talk about it? And so I'm like this little daredevil, you know?
Right.
So if
Well,
it's
like I
something, I'm
said,
just like,
it's needed here. We've had some really
mhm,
bad cases with domestic violence where men have killed their women and their children and left them in
oh,
garages. There's been a couple of cases of domestic violence where one man killed like 8 people in one house because yeah,
oh,
in domestic violence. Like we have some really, really, really horrible stories. And even the lady in Atlanta that was
uh-huh,
killed with her it was recently, it happened there. But she was
mhm,
from Milwaukee. It was a lady that was killed in some parts of Atlanta. It was
uh-huh,
her and her grandson and her grandson's mom or something like about 2 months ago.
mhm,
They found it
mm,
there. They found her dead there. She was from Wisconsin. Her family was from here. Um,
uh-huh,
so it's needed here. And I do know some
uh-huh.
people that I can connect you with so that we can make it happen. So
Okay,
once we get it all situated down there, we'll talk
uh-huh,
about getting it here. But we gotta take baby
absolutely.
steps. But it is needed. And even like I said, the lady who was on here, Mama BB, Miss Brenda Isabel, she has some
Uh-huh,
domestic violence work that she's doing as well. So, I'm gonna connect the
okay,
dots
okay,
after this and then we'll get it together. But
okay,
what
absolutely.
back to this play, because I know I cut you off. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to get that
No,
out.
you're fine.
What's
You're
the price?
fine. Okay.
What's the price?
Well, I always try and make sure that people are able to afford to come. So the ticket prices are just $35 pre-sale tickets. I do have VIP tickets as well. I have in my cast some recording artists that's gonna actually be performing and singing. It's gonna be a really great production. So the tickets are online at eventbrite.com for those who will be traveling from different states. They always get their tickets online at eventbrite.com. And the city is on a first come, first serve basis, and it's going to be a packed house. And one thing I can say is my hometown and community and all my supporters, they always come out and show my cast love. And I tell everybody, hey, I'm the writer, but they're coming to support that cast, and that cast is going to bring it's going to be um, it's going to be something very, very good that's going to birth forth more and more opportunities. And then, from this, we talked about the film, turning this particular production into a film. So that's the
Okay.
one thing that that I promised myself this year, that I'm going to go ahead and turn this one into a film, because uh, the
It's
opportunities with
needed.
this is just unlimited.
It's needed. So
Hmm.
what's included with the VIP package and what's the ticket price on the VIP? Because you gave us the general admission, you didn't give us the VIP package.
The VIP is just $75. And what it is it's a red carpet experience. So the VIP, they come in, they get the red carpet experience, they get to walk the red carpet, take photos with the cast members and myself. They get like this grab bag, because I always give like a playbook, and it gives you the information about the production, about myself, about the cast members, their bios, and then sponsors. Just information concerning the whole entire production. They get to get the preferred seating, because everybody wants to sit up front and get those couple of front row seating, and they get to go in before the doors open to the general public. T-shirts,
Okay, so
grab bag, playbook.
how many of those spaces do you have available? How many VIP tickets are available?
I only have 100 VIP seating available.
Okay.
That was the
And
number
how
that I
many
gave
are
my cast
spoken for?
members.
Okay.
Excuse me.
How many are spoken for? Because some people like me just gotta be VIP. So how many are available? You had
I
100.
know. Yeah, I gotta check in with my cast members and see because they've been turning tickets all night long. So I gotta go back and see which ones are VIP and which ones are general admission because their family members are coming in, traveling and stuff. And it's
Okay.
I got some clergy members that are coming. I have some other because like I say, some of my cast members are artists and they have their people coming, their special
Mhm.
people, invited guests from the radio stations and things like that. So I'm just
So you would say
excited.
about 50 of them are left, about 50 VIP tickets at the most,
Um,
less
I
than
would say at
50?
the most. Yeah, I would say at the most
Okay.
about 50.
So if you guys want that VIP experience, y'all need to be hitting up Tiffany Graham as soon as it's live in or Eventbrite because they are going fast. I know me.
Yeah,
Y'all already know I gotta have a VIP experience.
of course.
I gotta have a VIP experience. I'm not coming all the way from Milwaukee to be way in the back. I need to be up close and personal. I want to be up against
Absolutely.
the But thank you so much for being my guest on Popcorn Music Spotlight today. Hopefully this podcast will save some lives today. And like
Hmm.
I said, if you are ever in a situation where you have to get out, call 911 and always come up with the safety plan. Don't just think that you can wake up one day and just leave. You have to have some type of plan to escape because
Hmm.
that's the most dangerous time. Whew. And don't feel just because you're a victim that you deserve it because you don't. And it can happen
Hmm.
to anybody. There's no
Hmm.
demographic, educational demographic, financial demographic, sex demographic. It just happens. And it happens to the
Hmm.
best of us.
Hmm.
Look,
And
you got two
it's okay
strong black
to
women
leave.
right here. Huh?
I was gonna say, and it's okay to start over. Sometimes starting
It
over
is.
is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And for
It
the
is.
ones that have been or currently, let your healing process be a process where you find peace and tranquility and know that you're still worthy, that
Mhm.
life is a beautiful thing, and it's what you make of it. Just
It
because you
is.
experience it and you are a survivor does not mean that you always have to still maintain that stigma, that you are a victim. That could be your past, it could be your testimony to help someone else. And I use
Mhm.
the things that I endured to help someone else. I use that as an opportunity for my healing. The more I talk about it and I find myself opening up about it, I find myself healing when I learn how to release and let go and let God. So
Mhm.
it's a beautiful thing to be able to share and help somebody else through their
Mhm.
experiences and to prevent someone else from experiencing it. And if they do find themselves in that situation, knowing that there is help, that there are others, and that it's okay to speak up and say, "Hey, me
Mhm.
too. I need some
Me
help."
too. I have one more question. You said that there were communities where there are no resources. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
thought about writing your governor to try and come up with some type of legislation um,
I,
in regards to that, to make it at least mandatory that they have at least one resource in every county?
I have not, but last week when I was doing my research in my hometown, being that I've had so many people calling me and talking to me and sending me messages about their experiences or they know someone and trying to get different vendors out to the play to have resources to provide information, it was really it kind of hurt me that in a city where there's so many people experiencing this type of situation that there are no resources. So trying to figure out, so how do I navigate from here? And I think another thing is I talked to a few people about what do I do myself, Tiffany Graham, once I bring forth this production, because I did a little skit uh, almost 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
I did not realize the impact that I had from what I did. And because of that, it opened up some emotions. It triggered some people that had suppressed their involvement from years and years and years
Mhm.
back. It opened up opportunities for dialogue to talk about it.
Mhm.
And I had people that had suppressed, had forgotten their own experiences that kind of like opened up a wound that they thought was healed but was just covered. So
So,
what do we do? What do we do
so do
when we
you
realize?
will you have people there to because I know when I did Butterfly Confessions, because of what
Uh-huh,
it was the stage play that I did. It's based on a book by Yetta Young, and it's about different stories of women's sexuality and what they go through as being women.
uh-huh,
And it triggered a lot of emotion because we dealt with a lot of stuff. So I know at
uh-huh,
the end of the play, we had mental health people there to talk, counselors
mm-hmm,
there to talk to different people who may have been triggered by things
mm-hmm,
that we touched in the subject. So will
mm-hmm,
you have that available at the
mm-hmm.
end of your play?
At the end of the play and prior to, I did reach out to a few agencies that said that they're going to come and have information on hand. And the thing about that is they're not local. They're not within that vicinity of my hometown, but they will have resources and information and pamphlets. Um, I the minister that's in the production has reached out to other ministers to have more ministers on site at the production to be there in the event that it does get to a point where people may need to step aside or step away because the production is going to talk on so many different things. Um,
I think her camera froze. I'm gonna wait and see if she come back, y'all. I think we lost her, guys. So um, I'm gonna conclude this episode of Popcorn Music. Thank you guys for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Again, the play is called The Price of Love. I'll make sure that I share the flyer so that you guys can get tickets. If you need more information, please contact Tiffany Graham for VIP tickets and more. Thank you.